Okay, here are the questions from the internet. James, they say, during the Clinton campaign, health care was one major issue that did not get passed. What do you think of Obamacare being passed, and how do you see it evolving over the next 4 years? Well,
first of all, I think it's one of the great legislative and political accomplishments of my lifetime. And the reason is something like 5 presidents before him tried to do it,
right.
And they got it done, so you got to give them credit. And it was, in essence, ratified by the public in this election. So I think that is the thing in the first term they're probably most remembered for. Now, the implementation of it is coming up, and you know, there's going to be some things to deal with, and I think that they're going to push forward with it. But if it was so easy, why did so many try before him and not make it? And he got the ball across the finish line.
Right, and it gets more popular as time goes on.
But equally, Bill, I'm sure you'd agree, the cost issue here is real. And pretending it isn't real is
But it is paid for.
Well, it's paid for in the long run, if you look at our demographics, and in what health now is, which is exponentially more and more expensive than it used to be.
Right.
We have got to have some way of restraining those costs. Now, in the ACA...
But that is written into the bill.
Right. It is, but none of those experiments have been tested or proved right. So my view is that like the Bush tax cuts, give them time to work. If they don't, then I'm sorry, the premiums are going to have to go up. We're going to have premium support. We're going to have means testing. We're going to have to... We can't afford it.
But it certainly was better than what we had. Like like I was saying at the beginning.
Yes.
We got to work backwards from kids don't die.
It's less costly.
But by the way, I just want to point out something here. The private enterprise delivers health care more expensively than the government does.
Yeah.
So if you go to that, you're going to increase health care costs are going to go up. Now you're right. We will break the government if we don't do something about health care costs. You're exactly right about that. This takes a shot at it. We don't know how well it's going to work, but we got to take a shot.
Seeing the irrational reactions from the right after the loss of this election, is this a chance for a third party to start rising in 2016? Well, we ask that after every election, and really never happens. I mean, we all have that thought in our head, but it's just not, it's a European thing, you know, because they have a parliamentary system. It works there to have multiple parties. Here, they always get absorbed by one of the two parties, and it always winds up hurting the party that they're more alike. I mean, I know that everyone on the right blames Clinton's presidency on Ross Perot, correct?
Well, yeah, which is not accurate, but yeah, I mean, whether you're Ralph Nader or Gary Johnson or even Ron Paul, yeah, you sort of marginalize yourself and then you're brought back into the fold afterwards, and usually with fewer friends. Right. But you might have gained a crowd of sort of young insurgents who may or may not stay with you throughout the next 4 years. I mean, Ron Paul certainly has a ton of fans. I don't know that they're going anywhere, but whether he's a realistic prospect for president of the United States,
what Ron Paul did on foreign policy in changing at least some of the parameters of the debate within the Republican Party was vindicated by Mitt Romney's last debate, in which he basically endorsed Obama's foreign policy.
Right.
So the new Republican Party has to be, and there is no contradiction.
Obama's foreign policy is Bush's foreign policy.
No, it's not.
Are you kidding me?
No, it's not. Obama never started a war.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, where did he get this?
Obama went into Libya illegally without asking Congress. We have boots on the ground in Uganda. He makes Bush look like a Quaker.
Quakers do not torture people.
Extrajudicial
Bush is a war criminal.
You guys have no credibility if you are not going to acknowledge.
Wait a second.
Dare
You're
you
not
say
going to acknowledge
Okay, calm down.
I'm sorry, but to hear someone say that this war criminal administration that tortured human beings, invaded 2 countries on the basis, in one case, of absolutely flawed evidence, is the equivalent of Obama.
Killings?
You can't
really? That's what we're standing for now?
I'm with you on that. I'm not a fan of Obama.
You got to be honest.
But wait, let's be honest.
You've got to fight.
But when you compared going into Iraq, where we sent the entire American army, with Libya, there were no boots on the ground, and Uganda, where we have 100 advisors, you can't really compare your Iraq, a war that killed 4,000 Americans.
You brought up Iraq. I'm not making a comparison.
You did. That's exactly what you said.
Yeah,
you just made that comparison.
We didn't start no wars.
If you are going to talk about the philosophy that is underpinning Bush's foreign policy, it is
No,
the
I'm talking-
same
no.
as
Absolutely
Obama's.
No, the underpinning of Bush's
100%.
foreign policy was
There is
we would
no
invade
daylight.
countries and make
All
them
right.
into democracy.
That is just
That is
no
not the
daylight.
Obama
All
foreign
right.
policy.
You're still
We got
in,
congressional
you're still
approval
in
to
that
go into
bubble.
Iraq.
Hey, let me tell you, that your bubble has got a
Did
burst
we
at some
get
point.
congressional approval to
No,
go
because
into
the
Iraq?
administration lied to Congress.
Yes. Did we get
You know
congressional
what? If
approval
you
to
think the
go into
Iraq
Libya?
wall was a good
No.
idea, if you think the Iraq wall was a good idea, we just
Guys,
profoundly disagree.
you guys gotta be honest.
profoundly
You're not
Actually-
We
being
didn't go
honest.
into Libya. The British and the French
You've
went into
got a
Libya.
double standard
We
that
provided
nobody
air
can
cover.
talk you out of.
No,
We-
we don't
we
have
need to
one.
get back to conservatives like Eisenhower who
What
ended
Congress
wars.
gave Bush, was the right to strap on the guns. It didn't give him the right to go in there with guns blazing. It was a little different.
Yeah, and
So,
Bush made
yeah,
the decision to
yeah.
invade. And plus, they said when we found out the premise, and they knew that they didn't have weapons prior to the time of the invasion. And that the two reports that came out that they didn't have them, in the Washington Post, all they had to do was read the paper. And they thought this thing was going to work, and they messed up bad.
Iraq was a war. The Constitution says only Congress can declare war. They did not declare war in Iraq. So that's not really quite
If
true.
a Republican was implementing a drone war that killed hundreds of innocent children, you would be calling
We
for
were.
his impeachment.
I would say-
Exactly.
however, I
Why
would
aren't
say
you
that-
calling
no,
for
not
Obama's?
impeachment.
Well, I've been-
There's a
You didn't
difference.
start none of that shit with Dick Cheney when he was doing that shit.
Yeah, right.
Why aren't you
Because
doing
you
it
don't want
with
to fuck with
Obama?
Dick Cheney.
I
Why
have.
aren't you doing it with Obama?
Dick
I've
Cheney
talked
was
about it many
responsible
times here.
For
Many
100,000
times.
civilians
Right.
dying
Yes.
in Iraq.
Yes.
And the motherfucker made money off
100,000
of it.
civilians.
So Obama's forgiven.
No, but to compare the two
Not to mention the motherfucker was
is
killing people
insane.
in
All
property.
right, let's.
Another big
Okay, all right.
difference is
The
that
left
Obama
silence
was
on
for
this
getting
is
bin Laden.
appalling.
Bush and Romney
All right.
said it was no big deal.
All right,
That's a big difference.
Neoconservatism
But I-
is dead, dead, dead.
Okay.
Tell that to Obama.
He'll
Tell that
tell
to
it
the
to you.
president.
He'll tell it to
que-
you.
Final question, so we can end on a more mellow note. Mason, do you have a timeline in mind for winning national legalization and regulation of marijuana on the national level?
That's our third party right there.
Yeah.
That's the third party right
The
there.
Green
Green
Party.
Party.
The smart motherfuckers who know something about government and get high. That's a party.
Well, so here's the thing, Colorado's
party.
a great example. I mean, Colorado voters repealed alcohol prohibition exactly 80 years ago. They did it prior to the federal government. And a lot of states did so as well. And that ultimately, states opting out saying, if you don't want to waste your time and resources, you want to leave it to us, we shouldn't have to waste our time and resources. And as states start to do that, this type of discussion, this election has inspired this type of national discussion, and kudos to you, Bill, for talking about this publicly.
Please.
I hope that more national
Please.
media
It was a
figures,
labor of love.
Andrew as well. I mean, more national media figures need to be talking about this issue, and they are now as a result of this last
And
election.
we need to stop talking about it as if it's funny. I am so tired. I mean, when Barack Obama was asked,
Oh, come on,
about
it's a
this-
little funny.
Yeah, everything's a little funny, but
It
at the
is.
same
Come on.
time,
I mean, there are.
no, the right to save your own life is not that funny.
No, okay.
And the right to do with your own body as you please is not a subject of humor. And I think that when Barack Obama
I'd like to keep working,
Sad
Andrew.
trombone.
I'm sorry.
I mean, if you look at everything that we talk about, you could say that everything is kind of serious, but you have to look at things in a humorous light.
but
on
this
it.
particular topic is made fun of more than others. People start giggling about the munchies and all the rest of it, all of which is great. But look, at the same time, it's a serious issue of
but everything-
individual liberty. It
Okay.
really is.
The
It
truth of the
is.
matter is, like you said, if he was as hard on the war on poverty as he is on the war on drugs, he'd be doing a lot better.
And that's the other aspect of this.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
criminal
he's
apparatus
hardcore like
around
the fuck. He's
marijuana
hardcore.
is essentially a war against black men in urban
Okay.
cities
All right.
in a horribly racist way.
All
This
right,
is a
let's-
serious matter.
Let's everybody get low. Thank you very much. Good night.
Real Time with Bill Maher, Friday night at 10. Ask Bill and his guests your questions right after the show at HBO.com.